Let's roll. This is Countercharge, your podcast for ranks, flanks, and kings of war. Join your hosts as they delve into the world of Panithor and bring you worldwide coverage of all things Kings of War.
Welcome to Countercharge. I'm Rob Finoff.
And I am Jeremy Duvall. Really excited to be here with Rob. As you've heard, Matt and Rob were able to do a fireside chat during Adepticon weekend. I myself was at Adepticon, was not able to join. So Rob and I thought we would get together and do a little post-Adepticon recap. I don't know, maybe you mentioned it with Matt. I haven't had a chance to listen to that episode yet, Rob, but why wasn't Papa Finoff at Adepticon this year?
Can't wait to talk to you after you listen to the episode.
Okay.
We channeled our inner Crozier, and it got a little off the rails.
So it was a little spicy?
It was very spicy. It was very spicy. No, for me, it was just, we do like a remote summit thing, right? Like, so some people came to Memphis, but a lot of people just dial in, and we spend the whole week talking about, like, what are the advances in packaging, what's going on in Costa Rica or Rao, Switzerland, and it's like a boot camp, an annual reset. And the last 3 years, it happened the same time as Adepticon. And the previous two, I was not the manager of the process engineering team, so I didn't feel as bad of like, oh, I'm only going to be there for 2 days and going.
Yeah.
But now that I have a team, and you know, our team is instrumental in running lots of activities, I felt like I really needed to be there.
They did announce the dates for next year, and it's going to be in April next year.
Would that be perfect? Because end of March is a problem for me.
Okay, so I think they moved it to beginning of April, I believe. I don't remember the exact dates, but they did announce it. So I think it's beginning of April.
So yeah, it wasn't like a lack of desire. It was just I had responsibilities at work. I had to, we brought in a bunch of people from outside of Memphis, and so we did a lot of like transporting people around and a lot of dinners and a lot of extracurricular activities, and it was a great event from on our end. But I did definitely vicariously live Adepticon through you.
Doing a podcast is a lot of work, and I think Rob and myself and Matt, we're not immune to life gets busy sometimes, and I think we're just in a busy part of life right now. I know you have work is really busy. My stepson Grant is in baseball, so it's his first season of kids pitch baseball. So he's got 2 or 3 practices a week plus 2 games. So that has been super busy. So if you've seen an amount of shows drop off that we've been doing, just know it's not anything to do with our interest, our love of the hobby, or dedication. It's just one of those times in life, Rob, right now where you and I are just really busy.
Yeah, I mean, Aubrey's going to be a senior next year, so we're in that mode of like what college. She just got her ACT score. She got a 29, so we're really excited about that. And she's really pumped up about looking at colleges now. What does she want to do with the rest of her life?
So crazy. I cannot believe she's going to go to college.
I can't believe it either. I know. I'm just like, yeah, she'll be a senior next year. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
I can't even wrap my head around it.
I know. It's something, right? I don't know.
Have you had any chance to do any hobby or be in your workshop at all during the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting a lot of models together. I'm in the process of trying to get my airbrush compressor fixed. And if I can get it fixed, that'll speed up the painting process. So I've really been doing what I have the access to, which is a lot of building models. And yeah. How about you? Have you been in the lead up to Adepticon? Did you get a lot of hobby done?
Yeah, I had to finish a couple of things for MCP for the event, so I'll cover that when we talk about what I did. So just doing a lot of painting. I'm continuing to print out my hobby desk via the Painter's Fortress STL package. I finished like one row. Like I have an L-shaped desk. So I finished all of the stuff for like the base of the L, and now I'm doing like the corner pieces. Excuse me. And then I'm going to be moving up. Really awesome. Modular set. One of the things that I love is they have sprue holders, but the sprue holders fit in like shelves. So I have a bunch of the cubes have sprue holder shelves that I can pull in and out. So it's really helped me organize all, not just my paint, but all my assembly. So I have my sprue pull out for Kings of War. I got my sprue pull out for MCP. I got my sprue pull out for Epic Warpath. And then it also has a shelf that has preset bases cut out of it. So all my models waiting to be painted that are assembled and primed are also in retractable shelves. So I'm going to do a full video, I think, or a bigger post once I'm done, sort of highlighting all the different sections. So that's basically what the 3D printer has been working on, all just Painter's Fortress, Painter's Fortress, Painter's Fortress. I did see at Adepticon 3D printed related, Rob. I'm curious if you've heard of the company called the Warganizer.
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so it's a modular figure case holder that has trays set for where you can put metal inserts. But one of the great things is all the modular drawers, it has drawers specific for like major games. So depending what your game system is, you can get a drawer or accoutrements for your like a briefcase style, or it reminds me a little bit of the table war cases, right? Where it's one side opens up and the drawers pull out, and then it's got a handle on it like a briefcase on the top. But it's very cool. Check out that's what I'm going to be printing next, I think, for my it's not as much for like a big army, but for like a skirmish game or a smaller force or like a champions size battle force, they're really cool. So that's going to be next on my 3D printer, I think, after I finish the Painter's Fortress. I'm going to be printing out some better. I'm just right now I'm obsessed with like storage and organization and like turning my hobby space into, like, you'll hear when I get through my Adepticon purchases, a lot of them were like hobby workshop related. I've been watching a lot of Tested with
Adam Savage.
Yeah. And I love his man cave workshop, so I've been really like thinking about
his storage and tool store, like his tool boxes and stuff. It's out of control.
Yeah, so I've been trying to think about how can I continue to work on my hobby space and make it like my dream, like your dream car, right? I want to make my hobby space like my dream hobby space. So now I'm like getting color coordinated. Like my Painter's Fortress is white and gray. So I got my cutting mats for my assembly section are white and gray. So it's like everything's going to be color coded and themed, and I don't know. I'm totally nerding out on it because we spend so much time in our hobby desk, right? I want it to be really nice. So that's the main thing I've been working on prior to Adepticon was getting ready for that. Was working on the hobby desk. So as always, Adepticon, kind of starts very lightly on the Wednesday of the week and then goes through Sunday. I was playing in an event on Thursday, so I had to travel on Wednesday. And traveling to Adepticon is always fun, right, Rob? Because you're messaging people. It's like who's coming, who's getting there on when. But for me, it was an extra exciting trip. I had to do a layover in Las Vegas. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with the slot machines of the Las Vegas airport, but usually you never win, or I never win. So you just never do. And I had about 30 minutes, so I was like, oh, I'll sit down at this machine. And then I won. And then I moved to another machine, and then I won. And then I hit a jackpot, so I ended up leaving the Las Vegas airport, I don't know, up like $900. So I was just like, every single one of these pennies is getting spent at Adepticon.
And you made true on your word.
I ended up spending what I normally spend on Adepticon plus like what I won. I'm like, God, I bought way too much stuff. But we'll get over that when I go over my purchases. But pretty easy trip, really easy to get into the Baird. One thing I did notice, Uber prices were a little higher this year with gas costs, but somewhat expected. But continuing to love Milwaukee as a place for Adepticon, both food, getting around. The Baird Center continues to just be a absolute great location. Was there anything from the pictures? Did anything jump out at you, Rob, in like following Adepticon that you saw that looked cool?
Well, the one thing I wanted to ask is the big change, obviously, with Mantic Games, and maybe you're going to get to it later, but they're in the room with everybody else. And I'm just wondering, what were you thinking going into it? Did you have some expectations going into it?
Well, I was worried it was going to be too noisy, right? That it was going to be the big hall, super noisy. You can't hear anyone. It was sort of, for those who know Adepticon, it's kind of like the big giant room. On one side are sort of like a lot of the GW events, and then you have the vendor hall sort of kind of right in the middle. And then on the other side of the vendor hall, you have all of AMG's events. And then there was War Machine, there was all of Mantic's events. There was a big thing for Star Wars Unlimited, which I thought was pretty cool. People playing Star Wars Unlimited. They had a bunch of tournaments and booster drafts and all that stuff. So it wasn't as noisy as I thought it would be. It was nice because I, playing in the MCP, was in that same area as the Mantic people. So it was cool to be able to just walk over and say hello to them. Or if you were playing in Mantic events, you could walk over to the vendor hall and grab something like in between games. I think it was, if you had a nice setup with maybe a little bit of noise cancellation, I think it is definitely, I mean, they were streaming on that floor and the stream sounded good. So in the future, I think we could record in that area. We would just need to be, there's like they had a big judges area for Mantic, and there was a bunch of space in that area that we could have had our table set up there. So I feel like that's one good takeaway. I think Mantic being in that main floor is not necessarily if they are there, we cannot podcast. We just have to be a little bit thinking about where we want to set up. And then you would just have to have someone there. I mean, I left a bunch of stuff there behind the tournament table and no one messes with it. I mean, and the room does close eventually, just like any room at Adepticon. So safety wise, I don't think anyone's going to come up and steal the equipment. You know what I mean? If it's behind a judge's table.
Yeah.
So in general, I thought it was okay. I don't hate it. I felt like you did miss a little bit of the after gaming intimacy that you got in having that room all to ourselves, but it did put all the Mantic stuff. I think you do get a lot of passerbys that you're not going to get if in the other room. So I definitely think there's some pros, there's some cons. I was a little bit more worried at how it was going to be, and it seemed to me better than what my fears were. They had plenty of space, right, for all their events. It looked like everyone was having fun. They were talking. You weren't having to scream over people. So to me, I feel like, just from an outsider, since I didn't play in any Mantic events this year, it was cool to be able to just walk over there while I'm playing something else and check out everyone's stuff. So if the goal was to get the game in front of more eyeballs, that was a success, I think, because just the traffic, essentially anyone walking over from any of the AMG events, you're going to walk right by all the Mantic stuff and even the Pathfinder stuff. So I think it was good. I think it was probably a net better choice. And I think if you ask them how they did at the Mantic booth in the vendor hall, Rob, it was slammed.
It was slammed last year. I can't even imagine.
And I think they beat their last year total by like the second day or something. So I know that they, as a vendor hall, did really, really, really good. And one of the things I noticed, which is interesting, and maybe it's the Halo effect, right? Of how popular Halo is, because all the Halo cosplay guys were there. They were hanging out with the Imperial Guard cosplays and having like a cosplay off. I feel like all the Mantic sci-fi stuff, whether it's Halo, whether it's Epic Warpath, I'm hearing Epic Warpath is one of their top sellers. I mean, they sold out. I'm glad I bought my Epic Warpath stuff on Saturday. Because Sunday I didn't have any events going on, so Sunday I was going to be my big walk around day. But when I went to the Mantic booth, Blake's like, "Oh yeah, we're almost sold out of Epic Warpath the stuff." So I bought all my Epic Warpath stuff. But it just feels like their sci-fi stuff has sparkle. It has a little word of mouth. There's a little, like, in the zeitgeist of the miniature hobby, I feel like, oh, Hansel's so hot right now. I feel like their sci-fi stuff is hot.
Let's dive into the vendor hall, because you spent a lot of time,
yes,
and even more money in the vendor hall. So walk us through it.
So Mantic, I got a bunch of stuff. I pulled the trigger on Epic Warpath, which I've been wanting to do So I picked up the Epic Warbot Path 2-player starter set. And then I got a Forge Fathers box, an Asterion box, and a GCPS box. So that will give me like 5 factions, because you get 2 factions in the main box, and then those 3 other factions. And what I keep hearing about Epic Warpath from the Firefight dudes is it's great rules, and I like it even better than Firefight. And I love Firefight. So I'm really excited to try that. I think probably next time I'm in SoCal with the Surge and Destroy boys, I'll play some with Kyle Timberlake, our resident sci-fi dude in West Coast. And then I picked up, Rob, some of their, which I absolutely think are so cool, the Super Heavies. I got a which are like their big chunky boys. I got the Super Heavy for Asterians, which is like their flying command ship. I got the Super Heavy for GCPS, which is like a cool giant like robot jocks mech thing. I got the Super Heavy for Forge Fathers, which is a giant tank. And then I got the Plague Colossus, which is the Super Heavy for Plague. That's a giant like kaiju plague monster. And then I just picked up some like extra dice. So enough now that I can make a couple of different armies. I can run it at the loose caboose. I imagine they're quick to paint, because it's 10 millimeter, and I can print out some terrain on my 3D printer, like buildings and stuff. I imagine there's a lot of great 10 millimeter or 12 millimeter, 8 millimeter, whatever it is, terrain for printing, I'm thinking. So, but super excited for that. And then I also got all the stuff I was needing to start the slow grow for Kings. So I picked up a box of Lion Snarl. I got a Go Clue, which is like Go Luke. I don't even know how to pronounce it. The dragon guy, right? For Zerkali. I got a box of the Brotherhood of Yan, which are the monk guys. And then I got the hero box that comes with like the 3 different heroes. So essentially that gives me a troop regiment, a corps regiment, Lion Snarl regiment, a dragon, and a hero. So I was thinking like that's a good way to maybe to start with the slow grow, is do a unit in each of the battalion or the army building categories, was my thinking. So I picked up that. And it was so funny. As I'm buying things at the Mantic booth, they had these like different thresholds of, hey, you get a free Mind Screech figure or a Mind Screech doll. Oh, you get a free Kings of War shoulder backpack. And I just kept adding more and more. And Blake was like, oh, here's your second this. You qualify for this. You get this.
Yeah.
So they were good and hooked me up. So
I do miss getting to see Blake at Adepticon every year.
Yeah, it was great to see him. Great to see Rick. It was interesting, no Kyle and no Ronnie this year. And I totally understand. I think Kyle had something go on vacation or whatever. I don't know. Who knows what he had going on. But I did message him and he was missed. No Ronnie either. So it was kind of Blake and Rick holding it down. But every time I walked by the Mantic booth, they were slammed. So that was happy to see. Great to see. So that was my Mantic. I went to our favorite wet palette booth, as always, Game MV.
Love it.
It's one of my favorite. Yeah. Not only do I love their products, Rob, they helped us with our paint first aid table at our Reno Masters. So I really love them as a company. Really good guys. So if you're in the mood or looking for a new wet palette, brushes or whatever, but you want to buy products from companies that are have a good mission, vision, values, and are a good group of guys, check out Game MV. But my big purchase from them for this year, besides just getting the supplies for my wet palette, is I picked a couple of their Lucent lights. Have you ever taken a look at those?
They're awesome. They're LED, right?
Yes, LED lights with all the different, joints and pivots, and you can set color temperature, you can set color brightness. They're amazing. My light of choice have always been just a clamp, adjustable light from like Costco or Walmart or IKEA with just a better bulb inside. This is like my first actual, like, I never owned a Ott light. I've never owned like a hobby light, but oh man.
Well, what'd you think?
Oh, they're amazing.
Is it worth the hype?
I think they're really good. I bought two because of Las Vegas and first world problem. So I have one in my hobby, in my L desk. The base of the L is all assembly, and then the back of the L is all painting. So I have one for my assembly area and one for my painting area. And of course, they come in black and white. So I got two in white to match my color scheme of
Nice.
my bougie. But they were 80 or $85, which to me for a high end light, I think I don't know what you think.
You said $84?
They were like $85 a piece.
That's not very expensive for.
I don't think it is for like
I was
a high end
expecting to
light.
be over 100.
No, for a high end hobby light, I was pretty happy to pay that. That's probably my favorite purchase, I think, of the con was getting those lights. They're looking really, 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 really sweet. And again, like I said, great company. Really happy to support them. One of the, I've been painting a lot with the new Army Painter Fanatic paints. And what I found with them as I continue to go through them, some of and they're the 6 triads, right? 6 colors. Some of them I love, and some I haven't quite figured out how to use them are my favorite. So one of the things I'm looking at is more skin tones. So I picked up the AK Interactive for their new next gen or whatever their latest a flesh pack. It comes with 6 paints of all like flesh colors. Have you ever painted with any of the AK Interactive paints?
I've used them in some painting classes that I had at Adepticon, and I like them a lot. I think they're awesome.
Yeah, I've heard a couple people who say they're big fans of them. So I've never used them, right? So I'm just going to try them out. Another paint line to try out. Picked up some of those, and then I got a cool new. They have a nice, longer silicone paint mat that has magnets on it. So one of the purchases I got was, and he sold out, so I bought it, and he's going to ship it to me. It's from a company called, you look it up right now. It's DEXCHK. Pull it up so you can have it in front of you. It's a paint handle. It has a nice grip, and the top parts are magnetized. So you can, as you're working on models, you just pull the top part, put it aside, and then you can put it. So it's no longer needing 7 or 8 different medicine bottle, for painting models.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a couple extra sets of the tops that you can put models on, and then they just magnetize to the top. I haven't got this one yet, but it's like I said, he sold out, but he had them there so I could mess with it. So that's pretty cool. I'm waiting to get that. One thing I saw that was new, Rob, that was pretty cool, and I know you are the Turan man. I know you're a Tufts guy. Have you ever used Gamer Grass products before?
Love them. I love them. Right? They have like some of the coolest colors too. Like you can get like neon blue and not just the traditional earth tone colors, but some Martian tones and some alien tones. I love it.
Yeah, they're great for, like you said, all their Tufts if you want funky stuff. But they have a whole new product range that I had not seen before that's basing bits.
And
they're themed. So urban sprawl basing bit theme. And it's a box that comes with a lot of basing bits. And then they have a temples one, and then they have a sci-fi spaceship one. And so it's essentially just like you buy it, and it looks like it's about the size of like a big Hershey's bar, but thick, full of all these different resin basing bits. So I picked up some of those because I don't have a lot for like my MCP stuff. I don't have like a lot or any really urban sprawl or modern basing bits. But I think they are absolutely amazing for Kings of War. If you're looking for just, hey, I just want to buy a box of themed basing bits that I can just throw in, definitely check that out. That was one of my probably new product. Like I knew about the lights from Game MB, right? So I knew I was going to get those. But as far as new products that stood out to me, that was one of them. Gaming Grass's new basing bits. So really cool. I picked up about 4 packs of those different basing bits. So really excited about that. I've already started using those. I'm sort of building a box. It's a big tray with a bunch of different smaller pieces, and it's all my basing bits. So it's like my basing box. So I'm working on developing and organizing that. But Gamer Grass booth was super great. a couple of things I was really interested to see, Rob, of new game slash kind of indie favorites, but Trench Crusade had a massive booth, huge. And I know they have STLs, but they also are selling their own miniatures, I think.
They have a starter box now that's just come out.
And they were doing a bunch of demos, and it was also packed. It was cool to see players doing new. And then the other big new one was the Archon Studios had a giant StarCraft booth selling tons of. They had a bunch of different deals like Protoss deal, Terran deal, Zerg deal. So that booth was pretty big as far as when I'm thinking about what was the big new game at the convention. I saw a lot of people walking around with StarCraft stuff. I saw the miniatures. It's interesting. They're colored. So following that, I guess, so if you wanted to play them without painting, you could. Like tapping into that RTS group that maybe has never done a miniature game but loves StarCraft. So like the humans are blue plastic, the Protoss are yellow plastic, the Zerg is like pink purple. But also like for all the weapons, like all the Protoss weapons, it's like see-through. There's a lot of see-through plastic in the like orange for weapons, like the healing gun has like green goo that you can put on the end of it. So definitely some stuff that if you didn't want to paint it, it's not just all gray plastic, which I don't know. What do you think about that? I think that's kind of interesting, these miniature games that are maybe trying to capture a group that doesn't or has never hobbied before.
I think too, if they're coming at it from a board game space, it's a tabletop board game though, right? It's not a board game.
Yes.
But I think their maybe Archon in particular is a good example where they have made a lot of board games over the years, and like Nemesis and stuff. And I think they're smart enough to realize that StarCraft's got the pull to pull in people that maybe they do play tabletop board games, but maybe they play board games, and we've had StarCraft board games in the past. Maybe they're video gamers. So what they're trying to do, which is great, is they're making it more accessible by making it pre-colored and maybe making it look cool out of the box, right? If you don't want to paint it, you don't have to paint it, but you could still have a fun time with it.
Yeah, I think it's very smart because when they had all the two sides put together in the colored plastic with the colored see-through bling, I was like, oh wow, this actually is not this just looks like good board game miniatures. That's funny that you make that analogy because that's exactly what I thought when I was looking at it, which is like, oh yeah, man. So it's like you could paint them and take them the whole way, but if you were just wanting to get a game on the table and play it, you could. But it's just nice to me to see, in the end, one of my takeaways from Adepticon, Rob, the competition is high. This is no longer a space of like, and maybe it hasn't been this space for a long time, but each year it wows me, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Back in the day, it used to be GW, and then second, third, fourth, and fifth place were so far down the rung as far as game quality. I think GW money-wise still makes more money than everyone, but I think what you're finding is that with Kickstarter and 3D printing and just, there are a lot of really awesome options for miniature games right now.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The difficulty of sculpting a new mini is not there anymore. You're not sculpting and green stuff anymore. It's a lot more rapid process. You're digitally sculpting the way you 3D print your prototypes and iterate on that, the way you can make STLs and you can really, you don't have to sell plastics if you don't want to. You can just sell the files. Yeah, I think it's really opened up the industry and it's really opened up the tabletop gaming industry to a much wider group of people. And that's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing from a consumer perspective because we have more choice. Companies like Mantic, though, right? They have to step up their game because they're competing against a lot more people now.
And that was one of my takeaways too. I feel like, and again, we love Mantic. We always try to be supportive of them. And like I said, their sci-fi stuff feels exciting and fresh and new to me. But in looking at some of the King stuff, especially in comparison to what other people have, it's cool and I like it, but it feels like, and I don't know if it possibly could be we've been playing Kings for so many years now that it's just like, I feel like a little King's fatigue, right? of having played it for so long, and I don't have an army that's functional right now, and there's so much good competition. But I think also with competition, it's really exciting because Mantic can take a look at what other people are doing and use that to help inspire them. But that's definitely one of my overall takeaways from Adepticon is that you can't coast by in this industry anymore. There's just too much good stuff.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you could argue hurts Mantic is you talk about some of those smaller companies that focus specifically on one, like Trench Crusade is a good example. They're focused on one product, right? One product. Now, there's multiple armies for that, or multiple factions for that product, but it's one universe. And you got someone like Mantic that's trying to juggle 20 balls in the air, right? You got Kickstarters for things like Dreadball, whatever the new, the new Dreadball. You have Kickstarters for the new Dreadball. You've got Ghost in the Shell, but then you have all the regular traditional tabletop products like Kings of War and Warpath. Warpath Epic, and you've got Firefight, and it's like, I don't know. It's a difficult thing because, you're competing against people that are doing one thing really well. It is their core competency, and they knock it out of the park. And it's harder and harder for the bigger companies or I should say, maybe not the bigger companies, but the companies that are
diversified
right, and that are trying to do a lot of things. It's hard to compete. Because essentially you're not competing against GW anymore. You're competing against everyone.
And I feel Mantic is in that sort of GW model, right? Where they have this type of game, they have this type of game. Whereas you go to like the Conquest booth or Parabellum, they only have that one game, right? So everything is hyper focused on that one. The art direction's up the wazoo, and it's just, things are so focused that it's just you just can't expect to have people play your games unless the products are there, right? Because there's just too much choice. There's just too much choice in the industry.
If it's not great, it's not going to sell.
Yeah, I think that's when
people are not going to just accept mediocrity. Like it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and nor I think with the cheap substitute either, right? People want to buy cool stuff, so
yeah, it's going to be an interesting future, right, for Mantic as they continue to position themselves within the industry. They've got some great IPs. Halo is doing gangbusters. Matt and I pontificated on the last episode that, we think it's probably going to be okay with Ghost in the Shell. We think we chatted about Ghost in the Shell. I think that's another great IP that may have some legs.
And they ran out of that exclusive miniature, I think in like 2 seconds.
Right, and what's funny is we talked a little about on the episode that there was some backlash about it was like $18 or something like that for a miniature. Obviously, what you just said kind of proves the point, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that when you see, I think de facto prior to sort of today, it seemed like Kings of War was always Mantic's flagship game, right? Their biggest seller, and I just don't think it is anymore. I mean, I know that Warpath sold out at the booth; there was none left. I know that Halo's super popular, Firefight is popular, so it's just interesting to see how Kings is going to evolve this year with new models and new the next army book, and it's just, I think as Kings fans, we were always sort of de facto, our game is Mantic's number one game and their biggest priority, and I think that's just not the case anymore. And you can't blame them either as a game company, right? If they're getting a lot of they have to develop things that sell and that people want to buy and all of those things. So I totally get it. It's just interesting to see as Mantic grows, how it's growing. It's just really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting space for the next few years.
I think it is. It's going to be really interesting to see sort of how it evolves. And I tell this by the line outside the door of their booth. They had a great show, I think, as a company. That was my sense. Tons of buzz. I saw people walking around with Mantic products all the time. It just was like people walking around with Halo stuff or Epic Warpath stuff. I didn't quite see as much of Kings. And maybe that's just when I was there, right? I don't know. I didn't look at their books. I don't know what sold or how much of what sold or whatever. I'm giving you my perspective from the Jeremy on the ground, managing by walking around. This is just like what I noticed in walking around. But I do know that they had a great weekend, which again, my absolute favorite company in the world. So I was super stoked. All the people, there was Dead Zone events, there was Epic Warpath events, Kings events, and we'll get on to my joy and who won Clash this year. It just makes me so happy. Wrapping up sort of my purchases on my vendor exodus, I picked up, huge fan, Rob, as you know, of the 8404 Raphael size 2 as my workhorse brush. Brushes I like for my detail is the 000 and Double Aught Series M by Artist Opus. I like their detail brushes. M is the quote miniature kind of. It's a shorter bristle as opposed to the S is a longer bristle. So kind of like similar to if you ever did a Series 7
miniature.
It's exactly 100% analogous with that.
I have the miniature Series 7 and it never worked for me. I mean, the belly was too small and I just felt like I was having to go back to the paint too often.
I use it just for like eyeballs and really tiny stuff. And I use my 8404 for almost everything I paint.
So what's crazy is I use a Series 7 number 3 for eyeballs. I don't know why. It just has a perfect point.
It just has your tip.
It has a tip. I don't use it for anything else. So I don't know.
That's interesting. Well, that happens with brushes. Sometimes you just own a brush that for whatever reason, it's the right brush.
It's the right brush.
Again, I'm always up for trying new products, but and Artist Opus is always at Adepticon, right? You know what I mean? So it's easy to get. I try to buy a lot of my brushes and hobby stuff each year at Adepticon. So I got those. I got my A404s. I got my sponges and my sheets for my wet palette. I did go by the Army Painter booth. I always like to see Uncle Adam's always in there for the Army Painter booth. And there's a couple new John Blanche sets. If you're familiar with the Fanatics 2 line or the Army Painter Fanatics, John Blanche has put out 4 sets of additional color ranges, sort of part of its marketing, right? It's just more colors they can get you to buy. But it's stuff, if you know John Blanche, that is familiar with his palette of choice. So he had 2 more sets of that, which I picked up. One is kind of like, which is interesting. It's coming out in spring. Very kind of like pastel, cool, Eastery type of feeling group of colors, which, and then some other more earthy green tones. But that was pretty cool to set up both of those. And then my last big purchase was since mine had broke, I picked up another Eclipse Iwata airbrush. Because I had used an Eclipse before and it had broken, and I had this really nice compressor just sitting in my garage, not doing anything.
How did you break an Iwata Eclipse?
I took it apart and was trying to clean it, and by the time I had taken everything apart and trying to reassemble it, I bent and screwed up a lot of stuff. And I may have had a moment of red face, Jeremy, where I got so mad I threw something somewhere.
I was gonna say, because I have broken my Eclipse, bent the needle and whatnot, and everything's repairable.
Yeah, I think I could have probably repaired it, but I got so frustrated when it broke that let's just say I like Happy Gilmore, I broke the rake and put it in the forest because it's made of wood and it wanted to go back to its home, So I had a little bit of a rage incident with my Iwata, but picked up that, and then I picked up some of their airbrush cleaner and some of their thinner just to be fully stocked. And then that's pretty much all I bought, Rob. Just a few things.
With that, let's take a quick commercial break, and then on the other side, Jeremy will take us into his activities and events at Adepticon 2026. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Countercharge, and this is Tim Smith, your American Clash of King champion.
Welcome back to Countercharge. And Jeremy, tell us, you just told us how you spent all your money. Now, how did you spend your time?
This year it was going to be a year of new things. With unfortunately Papa Rob not able to go to Adepticon, I thought I could sneak out of the hen house and maybe play some other game systems so that Rob wasn't there to always be watching, always be judging. So I decided.
I'm still judging, Jeremy. I'm still judging
from the side, and that's what I kept telling people when they're. Well, first off, I want to say I just absolutely love our community. I wasn't playing Kings this year, but I was hanging with Adam and the Omaha boys, saying hi to everyone. Everyone was like, "Oh, Jeremy, how's MCP going?" And it reaffirmed to me, Rob, that our community is more about the people and not about the game. We can come together and still be a community no matter who's playing what. So that takeaway was really awesome for me. But I've been playing a lot of MCP with Jeff Swan, and we've been doing events. So we decided on Thursday to play in a teams tournament. So we played in a teams tournament, MCP, which was a double. So it wasn't like a Crossroads or ETC where you're playing your own game. It's me and Jeff were playing together. And it was one of those cool things like in teams tournaments where stuff that usually can't work can work because all your stuff in your team can work together. So we were playing X-Men and Avengers. So we had a super fun time. It was a long day. So it was 5 games. We started at check-in was like 7:30 and we did not finish until 8:45. So it was all day Thursday. But we got a bunch of great games in, and then Jeff and I won Best Painted, and there was 58 teams in the event. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. That's a big win.
Yeah, we felt really good. Jeff's a great painter. I put a lot of work into my X-Men. So, and our team name was Shake and Bake. So first you shake it and then you bake it.
Talladega Nights, man. Come on.
Yeah. We summoned some of Tom Cruise's and Oprah Winfrey's magic. So, but that was super fun. Great day. During all the breaks, I was popping over saying hello to the Kings people who were hanging out. Different events were going on. Saw Kyle Poole was running the big game, which was awesome. So we made it through that teams event. Super fun. And then Friday was the MCP does the World Championships at Adepticon. If you win a GT during the year, you automatically qualify for the weekend tournament. So kind of like a little bit akin to Masters, right? So if you've won an AMG tournament, you auto qualify. Or you can play on Friday, and if you make, they have 64 spots over the weekend. So if based on who won a tournament and is going, however many spots are left or what's left, right? So they had, I think, 50 something spots left. So some of the people who had won automatic entry weren't coming in the weekend. So we played 4 games on Friday with that goal of trying to qualify for the weekend. I'm bringing my Mono X-Men, which is kind of fluffy list. It's different game from Kings, but you'll understand the terminology, right? It is not a hard list. It is pretty narrative and fluff-tastic. So I was like, well, if I make the second day, great. If not, I was going to borrow Adam's Night Stalker army and play in the Clash. So either way, I didn't care. I was scheduled for, if MCP went bad, I was signed up for a Kings event. And also, Rob, all those Kings events I paid for, I signed up for, I did my duty, I felt. So even if I ended up not playing in them, I still contributed to the event by paying for the ticket for it. So I finished 57th, and I think there was 168 people in the Worlds on that Friday. I finished 57th. They were allowing spots up through 55. So I missed it by 2, but then that night a couple people dropped. So I made it into the second day of the World Championships on Saturday by the skin of my teeth. And you know who didn't qualify for the World Championships on Saturday?
Don't tell me Jeff Swan didn't
had to carry
qualify.
for me all day Saturday and be my butler. Mr. Jeff Swan.
Did he give you I was playing a tough army, I handicapped myself?
Oh, no, he got dice screwed. He did get dice screwed because I watched him. So he should have qualified. But it just was funny. And all the people who know Jeff in that community, Jeff's a really good player, really top rated. And I've been kind of introduced into that community as Jeff's little buddy, you know what I mean, who paints pretty well, is not hardcore player. And it just was weird that I made it into the Worlds and Jeff did not. But so I made it in the World Championships, which was, Rob, it was the little guppy Jeremy in the shark waters. So it was definitely an eye-opening experience. I went 1, 2, and 1 So I did win a game and I did tie a game. So I was very excited. But how MCP works is if you don't, the day one to qualify to day two. Day two, they take the top 8 people and then they play on day 3. So it's more akin to almost like a card, like a Magic tournament, right? Where you have to make cut, and then the top cut plays each other in like a, you know, elimination style, event. Um, so I ended up playing MCP Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, which I think I'm going to do this now for Adepticon. I had nothing that day, and it was awesome to just walk around Adepticon and not have anything I'm racing to do. Just to walk around is really cool.
It's such a big event. There's lots to see. You need to have some free time to just explore, because every year there's new stuff that you don't even know exists.
One of the things I love that AMG does do really well for their sponsored events is how they do prize support. And I think that this is a great opportunity in an area for Mantic to get better around organized play and creating buzz and creating excitement. So AMG did really cool things. They have a booth, and how you get all the swag is in your event, no matter what event you're playing in. If you win a game, you get a gold ticket. At the end of the event, you get a certain amount of black tickets. And all the items at the booth cost a certain amount of tickets. And it's all the stuff we love, Rob. Acrylic damage tokens, acrylic measuring sticks, custom cards with different art, or foil tactics cards, or all the stuff that's just all the bling. And then you turn in your tickets and get to pick what you want. So, and they're pretty generous about the tickets that by the end, I played in 3 days worth of events, and I had enough tickets to buy all the stuff that I wanted. So I got custom dice, some custom cards, and it created a lot of excitement that no matter if you were winning or losing in the tournament, you were gathering resources that you could spend to get stuff that you could only get there. So I could have lost all my games and I still would have walked away at the end of the weekend with cool limited stuff that's only available at their events.
And it's not models and stuff. It's like special extra stuff that, it doesn't hurt the retailer, right? The retailer's not selling that kind of crazy stuff. This is like extra widgets that only the hardcore want, which is who's there.
Yes. And I loved it because so much of prize support is like, I already have models. I don't need to, or I'll go buy it. I want to feel special that I came and played in this event. Like on the Friday, the first World Championship day, they had a card for Jubilee. So in Marvel Crisis Protocol, the different characters have a card. The card tells you all the stats that they have, everything that they do. Jubilee had been released as a model, but no one knew her stats. So at the beginning of round 1, like a stealth swag drop, they handed out to everyone playing in the tournament a special foil edition of Jubilee's card with a gold stamp that said Adepticon World Championships. No one knew that they were getting it. They just walked around and gave one to everyone. So how they treat their players around all of the swag, to me, it's like, I loved playing in their events because no matter what happened, I was getting something cool. So I really think Mantic should look at that around organized play, or at their big Mantic sponsored tournaments, have like a special miniature or special dice, and you can create it not just for Adepticon, you can create it for, this is the stuff you get when we go to a event, right? Like AMGs, they're taking this same stuff to Gen Con or whatever, or so it's, you don't have to, I think you can, cost wise, you just create some special stuff that you can only get at events. So I just really like that. I loved really having all the swag. That was really one of my takeaways from playing in an AMG tournament. The things I liked and didn't like was, the clocks. They got to have clocks, but just how they handled prize support, I thought was just super cool, really cool. One of the things that I really love about Adepticon since it's moved to the Beard Center is food. Tons of great food options. We went to a really great brewery, which was interesting. They had a lot of different beverages infused with different products that when you drink them make you feel great. So that was awesome to see that. And this is going to shock you, Rob. I'm in Milwaukee in a brewery, and they have a window and a side door that connects to like a taco truck style food. And it's some of the best Mexican I've ever had. And I'm from California.
That's saying something.
But we had some great food there. We went to a great revolving sushi restaurant. Everyone missed you. I want to make a point to say everyone asked me. I went through I was hanging out the Winged Hussar booth for a little bit. And Brandon was like, "Where's Rob?" And I'm like, "Oh, he couldn't make it this." So you were definitely missed and well loved, my friend, by everyone there.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's been a while since I've missed one. I mean, I haven't been to every Adepticon ever, but it's probably been 5 or 6 years since I've missed one, I think. So, yeah.
Well, let me know. We've already booked an Airbnb for next year. So if you need a spot.
Fantastic. I'll let you know. Yeah. Well, if they moved it to April, there's a potential now.
And then we played a lot of board games. We played a bunch of Draxia. We got a new card game.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, we played some Draxia.
Did you play the expansions?
Yes, I played not the corrupted one, but we played the new boss.
The corrupted one is kind of evil because it forces you to like attack people, and I don't know. It kind of takes the tickle out of the game.
It's a little
bit.
Too much feel bad.
But no, the monster one is so much fun.
It is. It's really it's what sometimes board games have expansions for expansion's sake when it doesn't really but that boss fight monster expansion for Draxia, it is. I can't imagine playing the game without that expansion. So we played that. We got a card game called Path of the Necromancer, which is kind of like Draxia-esque. That was our like brand new indie game we got and tried, which was pretty fun. My one funny story was when I met your old former employee Wade.
How funny is that though, right?
He told me his interview with you, which was, I went in there, Rob's interviewing me, we're talking, I'm trying to be like really good, and somehow miniature wargaming comes up, and Rob was like, "Oh, come into my office, let me show you my army." And then he's like, I knew I had the job at that point. Once Rob was wanting to show me his army.
Yeah. So Wade back in the day was like a professional Magic player.
Yeah.
And he has, over the last 3 or 4 years, has moved into tabletop miniature wargaming and mostly plays MCP, I think, and Star Wars Legion. Good kid.
He played, I don't know if you know him, because he's another sort of a guy named Yusuf, who is in that area, the Memphis, a bunch of the greater Nashville, Memphis area has a lot of MCP stuff, with Nate at War Room Hobbies, So, and I did see a lot of War Room stuff, War Room guys there hanging out through, what's the name of the owner again?
Mike Horner.
Yeah, I saw Mike a couple of times, but he was moving pretty quick, so I didn't get to chat with him, but I did.
He was helping with some of the 40K events this year. So,
yes, yeah. I could see he had like an event t-shirt on and was like moving. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let him go and do his thing. But I mean, the final takeaway. Oh, and then on Sunday, this was really funny. We have a new tradition where on Sunday of events, we go to Korean barbecue because it's a real easy to get a bunch of people. And it was Grant Federer's son's 16th birthday. So as we were getting more and more drunk on soju, we kept singing him happy birthday in the restaurant. And we must have sang him happy birthday like 7 times. So by the end, he's 16, right? He was so embarrassed. And Mark Cox keeps newly crowned Adepticlash champion Mark Cox.
How did this happen?
Mark played great. He had to play Jesse Berglund in the final round. And Jesse's a good player. So you can't just say, well, no one came. It was a lot of the heavy hitters weren't there. Mark still had to play good players, but I think he's playing Rats, which are in a good spot right now in 4th edition. But Mark's a great player, and sometimes you just need things to go your way. But super congratulations to Mark. Played really well. He's been playing those Rats for so long. He had to beat everyone put in front of him. Jesse was playing a nasty Twilightkin player list on the top table in the end. So super congratulations to winning an Adepticon tournament, whatever game system you do. That's, to me, that's like one of the pinnacles you can reach. So, and was funny, since I made day 2 of Worlds for MCP, I dropped from the Clash, but Travis Tim stepped in as me. So when I looked at the end of day 1 results, I was 1-2-1 in MCP, and I was 2-1 in Kings of War because it still had my name. So I was like, hey man, I got to send Travis Tim as my proxy to more tournaments. and just Jeremy, how are you playing in 4 different tournaments on the same day? And I was like, wouldn't you like to know? So yeah, he played 2 of my games, and then Russ Barnes played another one of my games. So yeah, it was pretty funny. But so in the end, what can I say, man? Adepticon's just the best. It is my happy place. So much joy, so much cool stuff to get and look at. It's if you are into miniature hobbies, to me there isn't anything better. Adepticon is. It's the World Series. It's the World Cup. It's the Disneyland. Whatever metaphor you want to give it, to me, it is the convention of conventions. It just continues to grow, man. I just was like, the Bear, they moved there, and it is a great location. Getting in and out this year was way easier. Remember last year the lines were pretty crazy. This year there were no lines.
They probably figured it out. They learned from last year, which is great.
Well, they had some metal detectors, so they weren't making everyone open their bags. Only some people who set the thing off had to open. So they weren't checking everyone's bag unless it had a thing went off. So I think last year they were checking absolutely everyone's bag and getting people to throw food out. And so I think that wasn't as bad this year. But I'm hoping with April, moving to April, you'll be able to come next year because, like I said, it doesn't get much better than Adepticon.
Adepticon's great because it also brings people. You get a very wide swath of the overall U.S. community.
Yeah, you're going to have like a 18-person War Gods of Egyptus event. You know what I mean? Oh, and shout out to Britton, too. Britton was there demoing the beta of his new game. He has a new game that he's been working on that's a Monsters Arena Bash, where at the beginning, it's miniature agnostic. So at the beginning of each of the rounds, you build your monster, and you can, you make him a slitherer, or you make him a flyer, or you pick the monster archetype, and then you roll on charts to get its stats. So it's all sort of like randomized so they're quick rounds, right? And you build rage as your main spender when you do your stuff, and you earn rage when you roll ones because you get really mad at yourself. And then you get rage when your opponent rolls 6s against you because you're getting beat up. So there's some catch-up mechanics. If you're rolling bad, you're still getting energy. But he ran a couple of demos of that, and they were all full. So Britton didn't play in anything this year because he was just doing all his booth and game stuff. But great to see him. I hadn't seen him in a little bit. And then, like I said, Adam, Travis, Billy, all the great, all of the Omaha guys. Great to see. It just, I don't know, just warm. Adepticon warms my heart. So what about you, Rob? What's on your radar? Do you have anything coming up or you're thinking about, or is work through the summer just going to have you nailed down?
Yeah, I don't have any events on the docket, so we'll just see. I'm just waiting for work to calm down, and I'm in the process of rebuilding a team. So once that team is back up and operational effectively, well, maybe it'll free some time up. The casualty of all the work is no Kings of Memphis. I just don't have the time to commit to a 2-day event this year.
When you want to run an event, Rob, you want to run it at a high level.
Yeah, I don't.
Right?
I don't do it half-ass, right?
You don't want to mail it in.
No. And to be fair, too, if I'm gonna miss a year, this is probably a good year to miss because we're in a transition. The community is figuring out, how many points and how many battalions, and there's more books to come out. So, if I'm gonna miss it, this is probably the year to do it.
I think that makes sense.
How about you? You got other events on the docket?
I'm kind of in the same deal. We had Adepticon, and then this next week we're going to Disneyland, and then we have some stuff over the summer. So it's going to be kind of like a wait and see. I really want to continue to. I really need to get my Zerkali worked on. I don't have a lot. I don't have anything that's functional right now, really. And I've kind of gotten tired of borrowing armies from people. So I think a lot of my capital for hobby time this summer is not going to be spent on going to events. I think it's just going to be focused on getting things painted. That's really my goal. Cut back on my events a little bit. Use that time to work on my new armies, work on my stuff so that when we get into fall and next year, I'll have a functional army. That's the goal anyway. We'll see. We'll wait till the end of the year episode and you guys can berate me.
Thanks for catching us all up on Adepticon.
Yeah, super fun.
Especially for those of us who were, had to have to live vicariously through others who weren't able to attend. So it's really great to hear how great Adepticon was again. It's great to hear that it even improved on the awesome Adepticon from 2025. So yeah, it's really great. And I imagine 2027 will even be a bigger year.
So much fun.
Well, with that, I think that's going to do us tonight. And until next time, keep countercharging.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Countercharge. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at counterchargepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at countercharge15, or by commenting on the Countercharge Kings of War podcast Facebook group. If you enjoy the show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Until next time, keep countercharging. Music is a composition of Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.
Stop yelling, please. You are. I'm hearing you all in here, and I'm trying to record a podcast.
I am loving it, dude.